What's up, guys? My name is Not Explosive, and to be honest, I really haven't brought you a video in a while. But lately, I've been getting into speed duels, right? So I've got some cards here, and there's a deck that I found that I've been really working on with a friend of mine that's been very good at beating the meta. So the meta tends to be either Blue Eyes, but Blue Eyes is, I'd like to say tier 2 because it's just an inconsistent build. You have to draw either your Flute or your Lord of D, right? So you're playing maybe 5 cards because otherwise you end up bricking. And then on top of that, you have to draw your Champion's Vigilance and a level 7 normal, meaning you're probably not going to be playing Tyrant Dragon. And if you do, that reduces your chances of getting Champion's Vigilance onto the board. So Blue Eyes, while initially seeming like a big threat, after some playtesting myself and watching others play, it just doesn't seem to be that big of a problem. However, Amazons have become easily a tier 1 deck. There's also Gravekeepers, but Gravekeepers they're a little slow right now. Even with their Ambusher, they really are not where they should be in terms of meta play. So Gravekeepers are not that great. Relinquished is a little expensive, and it's probably a tier 1.5 competitor. Really, the biggest problem right now is Amazons. So, how do we beat the decks in the format consistently with one deck? Well, I came up with something, and kind of following along with when I used to play Duel Links a lot, it's Harpies. So the build itself, and you'll probably see it on screen in just a second, the build itself is very simple. The build itself is 3 Birdface, right? 3 Birdface, because Birdface lets you search out your Harpy Lady 1, right? And Harpy Lady 1 is, along with some other cards, the main playmaker of this deck. So Birdface is your searcher. What makes Birdface a really good card on top of that is that it's really difficult in this format to get over 1600 defense, and it's difficult to deal with 1600 attack, meaning that not only is it a searcher when it's destroyed by battle, it really is a wall, and it's hard to deal with because cards like block attack and sword and shield, they can't really deal with Birdface. So you can't really deal with it. And like Windstorm, like I mentioned earlier, that I have, again, you put it into defense position, you still can't beat over it. So Birdface is not only just a good searcher card, it's a really good card in general in this format, and it's one of my favorite cards. Now, after this, right, what we should be playing is we should be playing Harpy Lady 1s. Harpy Lady 1 is clearly the best Harpy. It's just an attack buff for Harpies on legs. Now, if you're like me and you're playing 3 Harpies Hunting Ground, which I believe is the correct ratio, you summon a Harpy Lady. Not only do you get a pop of an opponent's spell or trap card, if you'd like, you also get an 1800 beat stick, which is great, and that's 1 Harpy Lady. So they stack, which is wonderful. Now, we play 3 Birdface, 3 Harpy Lady, we play 1 Harpy Lady Sisters, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But right now, something else that we play is Amazoness Swordswoman. Now, the reason that that's a lot of glare, I'm sorry. Anyway, the reason we play Amazoness Swordswoman is just because it's probably the best card of the format. It's got a chunky 1600 defense, 1500 attack. You could equip it with Heirloom. That's a good out to Blue Eyes, but that's not what I'm really talking about here. And it's just a good card. There's nothing more to say. It deals your opponent the difference in damage. It combos great with Half Shot, Heirloom, and just a bunch of other cards. And you can swing into it into your opponent's face down defense position monster and deal to them the difference in damage. So it's a really no risk card to have it on board. And so the last card I play is the Harpy Lady Sisters, which I mentioned before, and that makes 10 monsters. Now, the spell lineup. The spell lineup is 3 Harpies Hunting Ground. Now, Harpies Hunting Ground is important because it's your main playmaker. It's your main playmaker because it clears the board. At 1800 apiece or more, your Birdface and your Harpy Ladies are pretty much the biggest things that you're going to meet. So it doesn't have a hard time dealing with Ambusher. It doesn't have a hard time dealing with any other big things save for maybe Red Eyes, Tyrant Dragon, or Blue Eyes, because it's just a big normal summonable beat stick. Nearly said meat stick. Anyway, it's a big normal summonable beat stick, and then if they have Ambusher, which is 1900 attack, and you've got Harpy's Hunting Ground, you play a Harpy Lady. You pop the field spell, which also destroys their what was it? Temples of Necroval. Anyway, it'll be on screen, I'm sure. Maybe, possibly. So it pops that, which is great because now the temples is gone, and the Ambusher is 1700 attack, so you can easily beat over it. So that's not a threat. And then the last two of the spells is just two Elegant Egotist. This really lets you combo off your Harpies. It gives you some Swarm. It lets you get your Harpy Lady Sisters, which is big, and it has a lot of defense, meaning that if your opponent windstorms you, again, not really an issue because chances are it's not going to die, especially with the field spell. And it's just allows you to swarm. It allows you to do a lot of popping, and it's a good card to have around. In terms of some other back row that I played two Windstorms, as I mentioned before, two Windstorms. This is just generic defense. The reason why this is so good is because it affects the whole field, but that's, again, generic defense. The card that I like the most is Wild Tornado. Wild Tornado is great because, and I think it's the MVP of the deck, because let's say your opponent has a Relinquished or in Amazoness Swordswoman with an Heirloom on it. What you do is when they declare an attack, you just pop their back row with this. So you pop the Equip to Relinquish, or you pop the Heirloom on attack declaration, so the attack still has to go through, and then you end up winning the fight. Sure, you take a negligible amount of damage, but you don't lose your monster, and the opponent loses theirs, and it's unexpected. Plus, when you have these set, these also act as bait for your opponent. So if you're playing the mirror match, or if you're playing against like an Amazoness Sage that will pop your spell and trap cards, again, that once they're popped, they just destroy a face-up monster, so you can easily destroy a face-up monster and really not have to worry about it. Or if you're in a pinch, what you can actually do is you can summon your Harpy Ladies or your Harpy Lady Sisters, and then pop your own back row, and in that way you can actually deal with your opponent's threats and go for lethal a lot faster. Now, I don't know why people have been sleeping on this deck. It's a good. Oh yeah, and the skill is Tribal Synergy. So Tribal Synergy, it's just the best skill. It's a skill that gives you a +3 at most, normally a +1 or at least a +2. With some of the best monsters in the game. I just don't know why not everyone is running it. It's the best skill. So if you're not running it, you're doing something wrong. Other than that, just in terms of what this deck deals with, it deals with Relinquished, so Relinquished isn't really a problem. It deals with Amazoness, which is the Blue Eyes counter, which is actually, if you look through most of the results coming in from the recent Yu-Gi-Oh! Day or the locals, Amazoness have been topping, and if you take a look at this build and actually try this build against their builds, you'll be winning a solid chunk, maybe I want to say at least 60% of the time. On top of this, we've got the Blue Eyes matchup. Now, the Blue Eyes matchup can be difficult if they open up correctly. But, okay, so let's say you're going to the Blue Eyes matchup and you lose game 1. You've got a 5-card sideboard. What do you play in your sideboard? I typically like to side Light Force Sword. Now, a big problem with Blue Eyes is that first of all, it's inconsistent. Second of all, it stalls out if you hit any of their combo pieces. So normally that would mean Magic Jammer on their Flute. So that's the easy way, but you're losing a resource. What I like to do is I like to play Light Force Sword, because if I hit anything in that combo, they're pretty much done. So if I hit champions, sure, you've got a big beater on board, but I can deal with it because of my own things. If you hit the flute, once they add it to hand from the skill, well, they're not summoning their dragons, they stall out. If they should reveal flute and add the Lord of D, you hit the Lord of D, they can't do anything. Or you just straight up hit the Blue Eyes and they have nothing to summon. So the combo itself is really fragile if you hit anything via Light Force Sword, and in this format, hitting via Light Force Sword is basically you just discard a card from their hand. It's a really good card and it's not seeing a lot of play, so I definitely suggest Light Force Sword. Light Force Sword is a very good card. And in terms of the mirror match, I would just suggest cards like Twister, because popping that Harpy's Hunting Ground, um, it can be pretty good, especially if your opponent's playing Wild Tornadoes, or just in general against this deck. If you're trying to beat it, you're really playing cards like Twister, because Michizur is gonna it's gonna fizzle, because once I summon my Harpy, I pop the back row, Call the Haunted fizzles, uh, Necro Valley fizzles. A lot of skills just don't do well against this deck. And this deck, it's good at back row removal, it's good at swarming, it's got big beat sticks that can be normal summoned, and it doesn't need a fancy wombo combo via Dragon Collar to get all the cards out. So it really deals with everything well. In fact, every deck I've played, except for in the mirror match, I've beaten, just because this deck has so many good outs to just about everything. Uh, and that's just the deck I wanted to share with you. Again, the deck list will most certainly appear on screen at some point in this video. And with that, I just wanted to say thank you for watching.